scribbling down a normal training session that you'd normally carry out. Hello everyone. Again, guys, you're very welcome here tonight. We're just going to wait for another couple of minutes for the last few to hopefully pop in. But in the meantime, guys, if you grab a pen and paper and maybe just start scribbling down your generic session that you run in your club there. And also, just to get used to using the text box, maybe just put the age group that you're coaching this year into the text group, and we'll kind of be able to pitch it towards what we have in attendance tonight then. So you just type what age you're working with into the text chat there. You'll find it. It's the speech bubble. Just click on that and it should bring you into a text box. Good man, Cathal. Thanks. That's it. We're getting the hang of there now. Good man, ladies. It's good stuff. It's great stuff, lads. Kind of focusing kind of on the 13s down there, a bit of everything in between. So as I said, guys, you get your pen and paper out and start scribbling down a session that you've ran back last year, or when restrictions weren't in place. We'll just give it another minute there. We get going then, lads. All right.
All okay with the screen, James?
All good. Looks good, Willie.
Thanks.
Nice range of coaches here from
we start.
under 6 to under 15, so a bit of everything.
Great.
Hey Ed, how's things?
I'm good, thanks. Who's that saying hello to me?
It's James here. Are you well?
Oh yeah, I'm good, James. Sorry, you can see me obviously, yeah.
Yeah.
Good, yeah. I better not say this, but I nearly forgot. But anyway, I'm online now. It's a nice evening.
You wouldn't know what day of the week is sometimes.
That's a fact. It's strange all the time, but anyway.
Yeah.
Looking at James Horn. Is it James Horn? John Horn?
John Horn there last night, yeah.
It's hard to disagree with anything he said, isn't it?
Yeah, our hands are tied, but we get on with it. We do what we can.
Exactly.
Yeah. Right, sure. I think we get going there, guys. So if you can switch off your camera and your microphone, and if you want to ask a question, we might invite you in then. Is that okay? So just to help it run a bit smoother, all right? So first of all, thanks for coming. This is uncharted territories for a lot of us. It's our first time doing a lot of these things. So hopefully it'll go well, but bear with us as we're all learning on the job here today. But so Willie, if you want to move it on to the first slide there, and we get the ball rolling.
Yeah. All good, James. Move on.
Here we go there. Yeah, that's perfect. Now, as we can see, that today's focus, I suppose, is planning. So we kind of broke it down into 3 areas. Okay. So we're going to focus on season plans, session plans, and player development plans, and looking at how we can implement these and use these in a simple way to help better our coaching and improve our experience for the children we work with. With that, we've the privilege of 2 very qualified coaches here with us today. We've Willie Cleary and Seamus Byrne. So I'm just going to ask the lad maybe to introduce himself briefly here and before we get going. So Willie, do you want to introduce yourself there?
Yeah, so thanks, James, and it's great to be asked and involved kind of with James in his GPO clubs. I suppose from my point of view, I work kind of county-based wise, working from Wexford Park, where the lads that have more contact with clubs, the few clubs like James's U3 and Seamus' his 2 clubs. So it's great to be involved and asked to work directly with a few clubs. James has put a lot of work in tonight. There's great. You'll get a lot out of it if you want to get a lot out of it. And even from my own point of view, working with adult teams and youth teams, there's a great deal of knowledge in it. So I'm just looking forward to discussing it with you as the night goes on. Thanks.
Thanks, Willie. And Seamus, do you want to introduce yourself there?
Yeah, same as Willie there. First of all, thanks, James, there for inviting me there. Delighted to be a part of it. I'm a games promotion officer, the same as James, working with Cranford and Ballinstraw Gales. I think I seen John O'Brien there coming in and Niall Kavanagh. I asked the two lads to join in there just to piggyback in on this to see is it something we can run later on up in the clubs up there. But other than that, yeah, looking forward to the discussion on it. I think it's a great idea, and best luck with it, James.
Thanks, Seamus. I suppose before we go any further, I'd like to thank the lads for coming in. There could be an ant on their Monday night, but they decided to put their shoulder to the wheel and give me a dig out here today. And I think it's great for you. You have to listen to me for the last 18 months. Fresh voice and used to their expertise. It will add greatly to our discussion as we go along. So I suppose without further ado, we'll get straight into it. We'll go on to the next one there, Willie.
Yeah. Has it moved on yet, James?
Not yet, no.
There's about a 15-second delay, it seems, at the minute.
Yeah. We'll let it motor on the background there. I have the notes here anyway in front of me. So, guys, the first question we're going to put to you, and again, we're going to use the chat bar again and ask you the question, why would we make a season plan or a yearly plan? Any ideas why we feel they're important and what benefit? So, any ideas why we would use a season plan, lads? Stick it up in the chat there. Just a couple of one-word or two-word answers to get the ball rolling, and we'll see if we're all on the same wavelength. Thanks, Cathal. Yeah, develop how we play as a club. Excellent. That's it, Pat Devers, good one there to make sure we cover all skills. Dermot set goals, aspirations for the year. Very good. Noel track progress through the year. Good stuff. Excellent, excellent. We're on the right track there anyway, and definitely got us all thinking. So we all can see why there's a need for such things. And I think Willie's after letting the cat out of the bag there and putting up all the answers first. So
sorry,
you're all right. So again, basically by having a yearly plan or a season plan, it kind of offers us a bit of focus, direction, a bit of peace of mind, a bit of credibility, along with all your stuff as well. Okay, we can use it to, as Dermot says, set goals there. As Noel says, we can track progress through the year. And I suppose Fob really hits the nail on the head there when he says we can help structure the year and to make sure we cover all the skills. I think that's very important, especially when we're working with, say, our 11s down or 13s down, is that we hit all the age-appropriate skills and get them up to a high level as we go along. Okay? And that kind of brings me nicely on to the next point there. So, again, into the chat again straight away. Do we think there's any difference between a season plan for a child or the youth adult community? Any difference or focus, I suppose, between working with kids and working with youth or adult? Again, just a couple of words into the chat. We get the thing going. Here we go. Yeah. The different abilities, each develop and shape. Yeah. Age appropriate. Very good. Excellent. We have a few there. So if you want to just pop that next answer up there, Willie, and we'll talk through for a bit of a discussion there as well. So again, kind of when we're working with our child kind of up to 13, 15 level, we're kind of focusing on the player development, okay? All right. Whereas we're focusing throughout their year to make sure we gather all the age appropriate skills and develop them to a high level. Whereas adult and youth, we're kind of, while we are focusing on long-term development, we're also focusing on peaking, at the right time, the right championship time. So we're kind of building towards a performance. And that's kind of the major difference. So one is kind of player development focused, and the other one is kind of growing a team, growing individuals to peak at a certain time, and once you get there, to maintain that and carry it through the season. So Willie, do you want to come in on that regarding what are the differences for the season plans in child, youth and adults, or we keep going?
Yeah. I suppose, it seems straightforward, but it isn't straightforward. I'm lucky enough, I suppose. I train, a club senior team in Wexford, Nagori, and I work with the development squads in Wexford, and then I'm out in clubs as well. So I see the 15-year-old, I see the county minor team, and I also started with club and us when we go back in January formally together on the pitch. Our immediate thought is April, and we have to peak twice in the year. Peak for April for the 4 games in April, the 2 hurling and 2 football. Then we have some time, and then we peak again for possibly late August, September, October, and if you're lucky enough to be in the county final in October. So it can be quite hard to peak for that. So it takes an awful lot of planning, an awful lot of structure, periodization, when to peak, when to have downtime, what you're focusing on in each month. So there's an incredible amount of planning at that level. There's an incredible amount of planning, but it's not so much to focus on championship. It's to focus on the child. You have an 11-year-old that you're not so much worried about championship in August or the games that are played throughout the summer. You're focusing on the skills that you want to develop in that year following the club player pathway. I know James has done an awful lot of work working alongside the committees in the clubs, formalising player pathways. So they're the key essence of that age group. And I suppose then if you go to a little bit higher level, minor level, you're kind of in between both. You're developing the player, you're developing the person, but you are focusing maybe on a minor championship. But so there's an awful lot of difficulties and complexities in doing that, and they're wide range and they're completely different, as I said, between the child, the youth, and the adult. So each coach or each management team will have a different outlook on their season plans.
Very good, man, Willie. So kind of that brings it nicely along, guys. And where do we start, I suppose? And as Willie hit the nail on the head there, how we start with our season plans is very much down to our player pathway. Cushinstown, we have our document. Adamstown, one is currently being formed, and in Gusserane, we went through in depth the football player pathway last year, and we identified all the specific age appropriate skills and whatnot. So we have these documents, they're existing, and as we go along, we'll see how we can use these documents again and again to help us in our planning. So Willie, you want to roll on to the next one there?
Yeah.
Just this the next slide we're going to see is just it's a sample of probably a child yearly plan. It's actually a GDA in Cork actually developed it, and you look at it immediately and it looks daunting and it looks very detailed and hard to read. But lads, you can nearly put your hand over the bottom half of the screen there and focus maybe on the first top 5 columns. It's kind of the focus on under 10 hurling, and it just breaks it down that he has his core skill and focus for the year. Can we all see that there? The core skill. So we're focusing there on striking from the hand on the run and then striking from the hand under pressure. That's his focus skill, his core skill for throughout the year. And then he supplements that then with his supplementary skills, which are age appropriate. So his associate skill 1s are ones appropriate age 10, and associate skill 2 are ones backed up from his under 9s. And each year he'll rotate them that they're the focus for the month. It's just a simple way that it's all there, that no skill or age appropriate skill is neglected, and it also gives you a focus then when you turn up the field, hopefully in August now, and say, okay, we're focusing on high catch now. Okay, this session you come up with a drill or a game focusing on the high catch, incorporating the jab lift as well. It just gives extreme focus, and all the skills are addressed all of the time. And he also includes their kind of defensive skills and whatnot, and kind of age appropriate. So looking at this, guys, I hope you can see that this is something, you can make it as complex or as simple as you want. Okay, I'd be much more pen and paper man, so I'd be doing it at home. I'd be scribbling out my months of the year, or probably going forward now. We hope to get back for a 12-week window from August to November, week 1 to week 12. And because our window is much shorter this year, I probably propose we probably do it in blocks of 2. So you have 2 weeks then focusing on the high catch, and then the next one progresses then, and hopefully you get through hitting all your age appropriate skills and creating a well-rounded player.
And just to come in on that, James, and just pass a comment. For me as a coach, if I was over the club under 11 and I had this sheet done out for the year, it would fill me with fantastic confidence going forward in the year to how I was coaching. So, for example, if in the middle of June you're playing a Go Games match and you're playing one of your local clubs, and maybe as a coach we can get caught up with the game and how we're doing and stuff. If after the game maybe things go wrong, things go right, and you're not focused on the result, that all you have to focus on, are they getting a strike on the run? Are they, can they do the high catch? And once all this is here and reinforced, that's all you have to master by June. Okay, or hopefully master by June. And if they have that, you don't worry that maybe they haven't got the fantastic ball control yet, because that's going to come, and you're going to really work on the batting come September. So it's a great, it's there as well, sorry, but it's a great confidence booster for a coach, that you know exactly where you are, and that to not panic in a game if things go wrong against you, because they're only on an early journey of the year. Sorry,
yeah, that's really good, Willie. And just to reiterate again, guys, this is not just tying you down that you can only do the high catch, you know what I mean, kind of, but it's just showing that you have some sort of focus. Maybe 5-10 minutes of your session is on high catch. It's not overriding, overarching and rigid. It's very flexible, and it just gives that bit of focus that each month and each skill is developed as we go along. I suppose the next sample, I'm going to bring Seamus on. He's going to talk us through it. It's kind of more for, say, the minors and the adult, and he talk us through his season plan, and it kind of broken into two segments. He kind of his monthly focus as a coach, and then he also broke it down into a calendar of his sessions, just a plan. He'll talk us through it himself there. Right, Seamus?
Yeah, here, lads, I just put up there, obviously it doesn't for this year, the way things have worked out, but in general there, you're looking at coming in January, and your focus is right up to April. That's what I look at, to try to get the plan up the championship, because then you have to see what way championship goes before you plan on for the rest of the year. But I just have down there kind of the 4 just small sentences to go with each month is what I'm looking to do with the team. The first one there, obviously you're coming in for your pre-season, and you're going into kind of the physical end of it, but also as a coach with your team, I'm looking to build some sort of rapport with them, find out what are the lads looking to get and achieve this year. And there's nothing, I can tell you, when you're in a wet field in January and there's a lad down and he's doing his living best and press ups and sit ups, you'll find what sort of character you have, and you have a great chance to go build rapport with him to see where does he want to be come April and come championship. From there, then February for me, it's probably my most favourite time. It's where now you start building the confidence in the team through their skills. And this is what it's all about at the end of the day. It's why the lads want to come, they want to go play games and that. So you're getting them ready for that. And it's really about getting them and making them believe that they're better, faster and stronger. And that's pure, again, building rapport as a coach. And it's in my plan for February. Come March, the leagues kick off, practice matches are on. And what's very important here for me is because, the next month this championship comes up and everything changes, goes up a notch. But it's very important the small goals are achieved here. That mightn't be winning league games, or it mightn't be winning your practice matches. It might be less work on puckouts, or it could be working on we want to get a certain type of play developed, and this is the area for that. And it's very important that small goals are achieved in every game you play. Take the positive out of it, because it's too late if it all goes wrong and you're going into April and you're not ready for that championship. And then championship, well, that's what it's all about, and it's really on the mental strength here of your team. So really, here it's all, once you get the championship, it all depends on what you've done in January, February, March. And when I first started out coaching, I went into a field and I just fired everything and hope for the best. But definitely now, that's the 4 kind of, in those 4 months, that's what I'm looking to do. And I do it differently every time, but that's the 4 main points that I'm looking to try to get through. If you want to move around then.
Yeah.
Okay, so then once I have the 4 points that you've seen there that I'm looking to build, this is just a typical kind of training in the month, and I've done a Tuesday, Friday, Sunday. And again, in my and this goes right back down to say with nurseries only on a Saturday. If it's on a Saturday at 10 o'clock, it's on every Saturday at 10 o'clock. It's no different than when it comes to adults. Tuesday, Friday, Sunday, have your times and make sure it's planned that it suits the lads. You have to look into that. But then it's very quick there, as you can see there. There's nothing amazing in it or anything there. Tuesday nights there, S&C there, the strength and conditioning. Now that could be running up banks. It could be doing just lads carrying lads, or lads lying on one another and trying to that type of thing, because most of the teams nowadays are all in gyms up to Christmas and that. So really getting them into the field and getting them into, as you can see there on a Friday night, I've got physical and invasion, and what that is there, I'd be looking at basically working on the skills that require more physical effort than an actual skill. So you're looking at ruck ball and you're looking at winning high catching and stuff like that, whereas it's very physical demanding. Sundays then it's all about getting in the local runs and getting their stamina built up, and that's January. You don't want to kill them all together in it. As I say, you're looking to try and bring them on to the next stage. February then for me then, and I say it's my most favourite part with any team, especially a new team, where you start building confidence in their skill and you start showing, get it to do it faster. And this can be the straight line drills at first, just to get the confidence up, to then getting a very, very complicated type drills. And you can just see the lads, if it's working well for you, that the confidence starts building. They get into games then, and most of the games there that be kind of conditioned game, that it's not like a standard game. You're showing them different things. It's really about building the confidence in their skills and that. And that's what February's about. Move on then, please, Willie.
Yeah. Do you want to go through March and April, Seamus?
March, as we all know. Yeah, March and April, yeah. As we all know, this is the start of the leagues. Now, I have there on a Tuesday night, as part of my plan, I just have it down as mixed. And basically what that is, me summing up what's happened in January and February, and what I work on there then is, right, do I think our fitness is there? Is it coming? Do I need to do more of it? If I think that's good, I can stick at doing kind of skill work. If that's good, we can probably even start touching on a bit of tactical work. And that's where Friday night comes in with your game-based, depending on your facilities as well. If you have, because it's still, you mightn't have the brightness and that, but we're looking at going to game-based. And then Sundays, obviously, your league and practice matches. And this, as I say to you, now it's building confidence within the team and getting those small goals out each day, that you're ready for the big one then in April, which is championship. And that's what it's all about, is what the lads have been preparing for. Again, during the month of April there, you see on the Tuesday night, I've got prepare and reflect. And basically what that would be, we play the match on the Saturday and all going well, it's gone well. But it's as important, I've learned there only in the last year or two, it's as important to look at when things go wrong as it is when things go right. Why did it go right? Why did we win? And you need to talk with your players and that, and focus on the good things out of it, because we all have a habit when it goes wrong, we're able to think of 500 things that happen in the game. But if things go right, definitely sit down and with the team and go through why do we think we won that game, and concentrating on that. Friday night then is really routine session, a bit of target practice, again, just building legs together to getting ready for the next day's championship. And then after that, after winning your 4 championship, 2 hurling, 2 football, sure, it's happy days after that, lads.
Yeah. Thanks, Seamus, there, and a very good detail there. And I suppose it's probably more of a taster for a lot of us coaches who are growing with our teams and whatnot, and that's kind of all ahead of us as we continue our coaching journey. But just to finish this section, lads, a little challenge there for anyone who wants to take it up. I'd recommend you take a screenshot of that screen there now, if you can, on your phone or whatever you have, or write it down. So basically, guys, I suppose I'm challenging you to make a 12-week plan. So as I said, the GA hope to resume sometime in August, and we're looking at maybe hopefully a 12-week window where we're able to get out and train our kids again and play our games. So anyone who wants to, I challenge you to make a 12-week plan. And if you want to send on to me through an email there, or through a WhatsApp or whatever, I'd be more than happy to give you a bit of feedback and work with you through it or whatever. It's just a little challenge there. As we said, going forward, us and the county board are willing to engage with anyone who's willing to engage with us. So again, get it in a WhatsApp or an email there, and we'll give you some feedback, and we'll develop a few plans. So I suppose that season plans is looking at the bigger picture. So we're going to focus on now is more the smaller scale and the session plans, okay? And this is definitely something we could all get something out, because it's something we do on a sometimes 3 or 4 time weekly basis in the normal season, or session plans. Session plans can be as intricate or complicated as you make them. For many of us, it's that 10 minutes in the car before you come out, writing that on the back of whatever you have in the car, a sweet wrapper or whatever else. But it's very important, and like, it's something that kind of you get found out if you're not done very quickly, you know. So this is we're going to pull in the task here, guys. So we ask you at the start to write down your normal session, or a session that you would have undertook when we could. So I might call on some of the lads in the chat maybe just to talk us through there. Who's there? Cahill, if you can turn on your mic there maybe and just talk us through.
James, how's it going? Can you hear me? You can?
Yeah, perfect. Are you well?
I would. I'm just searching frantically for that sheet of paper now.
No hassle, no hassle.
Yeah. So I'll
Yeah.
just run through a basic one. Yeah. So I won't get into too much
Yeah,
detail. But
before you
generally,
get going there, Cahill, anyone who hasn't got one done yet, take this time maybe to scribble down your normal session plan, because we're going to use it again now in a few minutes. All right. Okay, man, Cahill.
so generally this is for under 11s. So generally what I do first is obviously a warm up, but generally the kind of warm up I do is kind of fun movements. I play, if anyone had an old Nokia from years ago, Snake is one of the favorites of mine. Just get them to get their movement right and warm up their heart rate a little bit slow and just get into things. I would do kind of just going around the square with a ball maybe and run into little cones, different colours, just get the reactions right, do some animal movements, maybe incorporate a little bit of pick up and hand pass there as well. At the end of that little warm up, then for maybe about 5 minutes, then I go into a fun game like Monkey Tails or something like that for a while as well. Monkey Tails, they beg for that every single week, 10 days a week if you could give it to them. So I always like a little game there. Then it depends on the numbers and depends on what I feel is needed on the night. But I either do 2 drills with the whole team incorporated. So sometimes I like them all to work together, or else I might break them up into circuits of maybe about 4 different circuits with different skills in each circuit. So normally do that for maybe 15-20 minutes. Then probably go into a small-sided game, something like possession game or hand passing game or something, maybe a 3 versus 3 attack and defend, something like that. After that, then I'll go into a normal game with just different rules, maybe no soul or 1 soul or points only or something along the lines of that. After that, then finish off with a kind of a fun game of penalty freeze or something like that.
Excellent. Very good call. I'm going to try and pull someone maybe out of Cushinstown there. Who do we have here? You're at 11. So, Fob, if you have your microphone, you turn it on there maybe and talk us through your session there. No go there at the minute. Dermot Ryan, is your microphone working there?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I have you there now. Good man, Dermot. How are you?
Good now, good. I suppose, look, I wouldn't be that much different to what Cahill said, I suppose. I mean, generally, we would have started this year, we would have started out nearly around the square, either hand passing the ball or striking the ball and following it around. So, as I said, it gets them moving, it keeps them all busy. If we need, depending on the numbers, if we needed 2 squares, that's what we did. Plenty of balls all the time, have balls there to throw into them the whole time. And that's all they want to be doing, is touching the ball. And I suppose what we started to do at the beginning of this year, before things came to a halt, was very much around, I suppose we had it lined up, we were having them shooting at the goal the whole time, so it was very much about striking on the run. We had someone passing the ball into them, whether that was hand passing, striking low or striking high. We could vary that way, and we had them crisscrossing as well. So it was set up in such a way that you could basically incorporate any skill into the way we had set it up, but it was all about shooting at the goal. And there's nothing kids love more than that, is shooting at the goal. And from then, I suppose, we just moved it on and we played the match. Very much, I suppose, depending on numbers, we decided if we implemented any rules or not. But I mean, from the couple of sessions we had earlier on in the year, we're probably one of the few clubs that are lucky enough, or one of the few groups, we played 1 match before the thing was shut down. And the couple of things we had done showed in that match, just in terms of the way fellas attacked the ball a little bit more. And when they got the ball, they ran at the goal, and that's and that was only from three or four sessions with the lads this year. Like.
Yeah, very good, very good. Right, so I think we all should have something scribbled down there in front of us there. So probably something like that, lad, be in front of you there now. That it might mean nothing else, could be double Dutch to anyone else, but you understand it, and you're able to make sense of it when you get to the field.
James.
Yeah.
Can you come in there now?
Yeah, hop in there.
I'm looking at those notes on the screen. Yeah, I said I'm looking at those notes on the screen there, and they're actually my notes, and I don't know what they are.
Well, you did that night, I suppose. Hopefully.
At the time I did. That's what I'm saying, and I think it's important for the lads. Some fellas can go into it in really fine detail. You have the session in your head. I think what those notes are for, I'd have that in my pocket there when I'm doing the session, and it's only really a checklist. And that one line there with a scribble on it and an X and an O, that to me means something. So I know what I need to go on to. Sometimes lads can write it in really fine detail and they get muddled up and they're looking at it on the pitch and they're, I think, as I say, the simpler you can get it, the better. As I say, I'm looking at them now and I'm kind of, what session was that and where was it? And I'm trying to figure out what it was. Yeah. But at the time, I knew it inside out,
Very good, very good. I think I do myself is actually take an A4 page. I think I'd fold it 4 times. So it's about fits in your hand and you're able to put it in your pocket. I find it great, and you can fold it out and you have 2 or 3 different things on it, your focuses and diagrams of different things you want to run. So I think as Donal looked great, he said he used to pull the corner after a cornflakes box when he's writing his session plans, and the Cork boys used to get a great go out of this interpret training with Kellogg's cornflakes cardboard and reading off his session to him. But I said hopefully we all have something like that now. We're just going to move it on there now again, and just so another couple of sample session plans, and then we kind of get onto your own ones then. So again, this next one here, again, the one on the left is my work, and the one on the right, I think it's Eamon Fitzmaurice, the former Kerry football manager. Definitely the left is more my style anyway. It's pen and paper, and it was done just to provide focus. So for that particular session, I was working with 4 other coaches, so we had to very clear what we're doing, when we're doing it, how long we're doing it. We had the kids for an hour, and I think actually, as Gas said, Willie's actually over the model all the time, so I had to submit something to Willie as well. So I probably went into more detail in that one than I normally would run for myself, because I had to share with Willie and 4 other coaches. So it outlines then on the left hand side who's responsible for what, your components of it, your warm up, your skill 1, skill 2, skill 3, your fun games, and more importantly, how long we're going to spend at each one. And similar enough, you look over the one the Kerry footballer are using through their All-Ireland campaign. It's very similar, it's just clarity and focus and let everyone know what's going on. I suppose it's a good point as well. At the time, Seamus, a young fella, actually was on the model log, and Seamus hadn't started work with us anyway at the time either. And Seamus was in the car park as a parent there. And maybe Seamus, you want to tell the story of how your son felt or how he thought the session went at that day? Or
yeah, well, again, it's like I seen there in the text box there, lads are putting in, age appropriate sessions, and it's not different there to what you were doing, James, with Model Og. It was under 13, or was it under 13 at the time?
Yeah, under 13.
Yeah, under 13. But although, the level of challenge for Angus at it was brilliant. He got into the car after it, and the minute he shut in the car, and he turned to me and go, God, that was brilliant. And I just started quizzing him why it was brilliant. Not running down the club coaches or anything like that. A lot of standing around. The call wouldn't have been as organised. I sat at the back of the goal in Buffers Alley looking out at it, and the pitch was alive. There was 4 coaches gone. They were moved around. And the other thing about it was the choice of skills that you had that day, James. It made the lads work on their right and on their left. The lads were really, really challenged, and I think they enjoyed that. I think you have a quote there, Damien Quigley there, your fellow clubman came up with it. If they're able to do 85% of it, and fail on 15, well then the challenge that you're giving them, they can do it, but they can go away and have and practice on it to do it better. And he definitely came home and straight away he was able to recognise that his striking off the left was poor, and he was again the garage wall here, then banging that ball off on his left hand side because he wanted to go back to next, and he wanted to be able to do it better, you know. So again, it was great to see that's the session on the paper. I'm looking at it now, and I can remember the session on the field. It was good, and it's the challenge, age appropriate.
Yeah, and success for me was because there was a plan there, and it moved seamlessly and built on and progression. We also incorporated a couple of elements of fun and different things like that, and we kind of hit a lot of components, you know, and every coach got an input as well into an area where they were strong and comfortable doing more importantly. Just a quick question there to make sure you're all still awake, lads, okay? Before we move on to our last point on session plans, we all know what kids like during their training sessions. But a quick question maybe, what do your children, what don't they like? What issues might they have, don't they like from their coaches or coach behaviour? Put a few up in the chat there just to get us reflecting from the child's perspective there. So we give you a minute there to type something in. What kids don't like from our coaches or training sessions? Here we go. Yeah. Man called don't like loads of drills. Yeah. Variety and games, plenty of fun. Definitely. They don't like sarcasm. Definitely. A lot of them don't even understand sarcasm. Really good. You can't be overly strict with them there. Yeah. Very good, Ed. Good answer. Lack of time the ball. Excellent. Stuff. They love playing matches. Exactly. Give them matches. Plenty of matches. This is a great one, Pat. Standing around, a lack of ball. And that standing around and the lack of ball contact come from us being poorly organised or just being maybe chasing our tail a bit and not know what's going on for a few minutes. Excellent. Good stuff. We put a pin in it there, guys. And the last bit on session planning here is we're going to flick on now to the last slide. And I want you to take your session plan you have there. We're just going to tick off the checklist and see.
James, just 1 second there. Sorry, before you move on to the next one, it was kind of in my mind having watched it, but just if you look at the Eamon Fitzmaurice session for a second, it sort of can scare you a little bit how organised he is. Now you have to remember this is the highest level. This is the Kerry senior footballers with a team, an army of coaches around them and every facility going. But Carl, you ran through your session and I thought it was absolutely excellent. I just thought it was brilliant how you did it. You said a warm up, animal movements. Then you went into a fun game. Then you went into a drill. Then you went into small-sided games, and then you played a match. If you look at Eamon Fitzmaurice's session, it's the exact same as Carl's, except Carl's was aimed at an under-11 in his club, and this is aimed at the Kerry Senior footballers. You had the warm-up, okay, 20 minutes or whatever. You had a game, so Carl said he moved on to fun games. You did your skill works, you did a small bit of drills, and don't think drills are finished or not. You'd kick past and shooting for Kerry. Carl could be working on something else. Then he went back in. Carl, you said you went back into small-sided games, exactly like Kerry did, and then they went into a match. So Carl basically outlined to us the exact same session as Kerry, but his is delivered at a club at a different level. So this might scare you a little bit how it's typed up and everything, but the reality is, if you're sort of well planned and organised, and it even is this notes, the quality of the session can be the exact same in the aims that Eamon Fitzmaurice outlined. So Carl, I just thought it was fantastic, and it was great to take notes on it. And I just thought when I looked at this, then, as I said, a lot of coaches say, why do I need to do that for under nines? But I think we just saw it explained there as well. So I just wanted to say that was all right.
Good stuff. Now, guys, just to move it on, and I think you'll find out from this now, we'll see how we get to. So we've 11 points here, okay? So you're going to give yourself a correct or a mark every time one of these elements is in your session plan. So first of all, you wrote it down, give yourself a mark, okay? Have you planned an element of fun into your session? Give yourself another mark. Is there a warm-up included? Give yourself another mark. Is there fundamental movement included? Or if you're working with an old group, could be athletic development such as maybe speed or strength work incorporated. Have you a clear focus of your session? Are you clear what skills you're working on, or your overarching focus for the session. Does it include an element of skill development component? Is it games based where possible? Is there a match or games? Have your skills or games progressions to them? And finally, is the session player centered? Okay, so guys, check your session off that checklist, and let's see how many you have. How many marks? Anyone with full marks there? Type them in. Type in your score, lads. Once you add them up, and see how many of the 11 we have in your session.
Edwin only gave himself a 1. It's a bit harsh.
I think he's dogging me.
What?
I think. So add them all up there, and how much?
James,
Yeah.
James, just come there on it there while the lads are sending in their scores and that. And I'm sure, Willie, you can back this one up as well. We've all got kind of a story of it. You've done up your session plan and you've gone to the pitch with it, and all that day is going over in your head. And like, I remember going with it was a Pats, I think it was it would have been under 12s at the time, which would be now the under 11s or under 13s. And when I arrived there anyway, I could tell the lads were in a very, very giddy humour that day, you know. And I sure it was right crack. They were rolling down banks and everything and not listening. And I looked at my session and I just said to myself, this session isn't going to happen, you know, because I had it in a little bit more detail or whatever. And, you know, and straight away we started the game, and the game was absolutely brilliant. I put the session in my pocket. That sometimes it mightn't work, and there's nothing wrong with that. You can change your session there, you know, on the spot, and don't be afraid to change it, because they definitely weren't in the humour for it that night. And all it would end up being is me going home, probably tick over something not happening, and rather than letting that happen, we said, right, let's have one big fun game, and they had that, and it was a brilliant crack. You know, so sometimes the session, it's great to have it in your pocket, but sometimes it mightn't be the right thing to do on the night.
Definitely. The word is flexibility, I think, James. You just kind of react to your situation. You know what I mean? Kind of, you might find sometime that something is working or isn't working, and let it run shorter or longer. You have to, that adaptability is very important. And again, the plan is just a broad plan. Sport is live, and we have to react to the situation, and it's nailed on the head there. You have to be flexible and go with the flow at times. But just looking at the scores coming through there, lads, they're all very good. We're all talking 7, 8, 9. I'm not sure if Ed was 1 or 11. I think he's given himself 11 full marks, I think, but we'll I'll clarify him next time I'm talking to him. But guys, like I said, 7, 9 out of 11. That's fantastic. You know what I mean? Kind of, we're hitting a lot of the boxes already, and that's one of the main points that I wanted to hit. That the work we're doing, and I see it on a weekly basis when I'm out with you over the summer, all visiting on the club visits. The coaching is a very, very high standard, you know. The one thing I would say to you, similar, if you can take a screenshot or a picture of that screen, it's just good. It's a good thing to check off your next session plan of what you're doing. You know what I mean? Kind of. So if there's something missing there, how can you include it? How can you include it? Maybe an element of fun. How can you make it more player centered rather than coach centered? Are we including all the players at the time? Is there too big crowds at cones or whatever? Just a couple of points to work on. And as I said, we're all hitting fairly high scores again, and just that little bit extra could bring us a little bit further. Okay, well done. Will you add there before we move on?
No, James, I don't. I can gather from the two sessions that come in from both Durham and Cahill that straight away I knew that they're clued in, and the sessions are obviously of good quality for their coach, for their players. So as long as you say to have a checklist now of what each session could cover. So no.
Yeah, very good. Okay, kind of that kind of brings us on to our last section here now, and it's probably the shortest section. And it's something that we don't do a whole lot of, but hopefully I can convey to you how it can be used. Like, you know what I mean, and not scare you with it. It's something I've been working on in my head, and I kind of, through this period of reflection, it will help shape your session plans and season plans. So what we're going to focus on here is a player development plan. Okay, so Willie, if you want us to move on to the next slide there and I introduce it. Okay, 1 second there now. So as I said before, player pathway is a big thing. It's a big buzzword now in all coaching circles, you know. And I think Cushinstown have theirs in place. The Adamstown one is currently been with the printers nearly ready to hit the shelves, and with Gusserane we've been focusing on the tourist one. It's a very good comprehensive one laid out there. Okay, so first of all, guys, I want to make you all aware that all these resources are available, ready available to all ye club coaches. Okay, get in contact with whoever be your coaching officer, whether it be or Mike Cup contact. They'll set you these resources straight away. So that's Edwin in Cushinstown, or Fob in Adamstown, Lizzie Kent, and in Gusserane, Carl Summers. If you ever want these resources, call any of them a ring, or even contact me directly and we get them out to you. Okay, so this is the first point of when we're evaluating players. This is what we have to come back to, the player pathway. Okay, and each pathway, kind of in their own words, have different things that are important to each age group. Okay, so if you look at the blue one at the backward, that's the tourist pathway. That's the pathway designed by Leinster GA. And see that you probably make out the things in bold there. Okay, so there's a list of characteristics or attributes that are important for an age 10 to 11-year-old. Okay, so what I'm proposing is then, kind of depending on the size of your squad or whatnot, is that we form a little analysis tool where we can gauge a couple of individual players on a couple of these attributes. Okay, so if we're looking at under 11 there, we might take handling, striking, tackling, that's 3, evasion be 4, decision making is 5, and maybe one that's hidden away, maybe team play. So that gives you 6 facets where we could rank or grade that player. Okay, so you can use whatever parameter you want. You can rate them out of 3, 5, or 10. Personally, I'd be probably leading the younger ones up to 9s, probably just even the traffic light system is very good. So green means they're very good, amber, a little bit of work, and red, low level, needs a bit of improvement. And with that, if you were to do that for a player, you could be able to highlight what's his strengths, what's his weaknesses. Okay, and if we were to carry that out over a number of players or sample of players, so if you have a squad of 24, you take 6, take 2 strong ones, 2 middle of the road ones, 2 of the weaker ones, and gauge it. You'll be able to gather information that will help shape your sessions and shape the needs and wants of your team and players. Okay, so as I said, the starting point are all these players, the pathways, and then we're going to pull out a couple of important things for each age group and form a little matrix. So if you want to just click on there, Willie, we have little tasks to finish with. Okay, so when we're waiting there, guys, think of one player from your squad you're working with at a minute. Okay, write down his name at the top of the page. I want you to draw a circle like that with 6 components in it. And then from the 6 opponents, Willie's going to teach you read, I think, by the looks of it. Very good. All right. So we're going to look at 6 attributes that is age appropriate to that player. All right. So if you're working with your, say, under 7s, what's their running like? What's their striking, kicking, jumping, different things like that. Okay. As you get more older to under 11s or 9s, it could be striking, catching, throwing, passing, whatever. Okay, so come up with 6 different means or attributes or skills that are important for your age-specific person. Okay, and from that, then I'm just going to ask you to maybe grade them out of 5. Their player. Okay, all right. And maybe call on someone to talk us through their one now in a minute. Okay, so grade them out of 5 in 6 attributes that are age appropriate. You under pressure, Seamus?
No, that wasn't me.
Very good. Who's my next victim now? So you can pick on anyone here. I'm going to call on Frankie Cleary here. Frankie, is still with us there, Frank?
Sorry, James, cut there for a minute if you can.
No, Has, we'll come back to you there in a minute, okay? Who else is there? Ed, do you want to hop in there for a second? Ed Mooney. Give you a chance to redeem yourself.
Hello.
Ed, how's things?
Oh, yeah, that
We
was
have
an
you there.
11. You're right, James. That was 11.
11, I thought so, yeah, I know you well.
No one was doubting that, of course.
So, Ed, you're with the
yeah,
under 13
I-
boys, is it?
Yeah, I
You don't have to name the player now. Player X. We won't drop any names here, okay?
right, okay. The things I wrote down 5 things. I hope that's what you
Yeah,
wanted me to do.
perfect, yeah.
Running, kicking, hand pass, team play, and then on the weaker side, yeah?
Perfect, yeah.
So this player who shall remain nameless, running was sort of 2, under 9s. So
Yeah.
you know, at under 9, they still really haven't got their legs under them, a lot of them, you know. But this guy was sort of, you know, if you tried to do a bit of running backwards or something like that, you could really see where he just hadn't developed it yet. So you'd be looking to do a bit of work on that with him.
Yeah.
Kicking was decent. Hand pass was very good. Handling was quite good. Team play was good. And then I was scrambling for a last one, but I put down the weaker side.
Yeah.
And I hadn't scored that yet, but this player knows what the weaker side is about anyway. So whilst it's not good, I think it's good for an under 9. If you know what I'm saying. So that's
Excellent.
what that was what I'd be thinking of doing. Yeah, so you're saying you would need to do that then for
It depends
half a dozen players.
what you wanted to do use it for. You know what I mean? Kind of, if like you're not too bad in Cushinstown, you might have 10 or 11 at each age group. It might be practical to do them all. You know what I mean? But if you have
Yeah.
24, you might take a sample of 6 maybe, just to help inform you of where they're at. You know, you might do it at the start of the year and you might do it towards the end of the year. You know what I mean? Kind of just to give a bit of focus.
More to inform the group session more than what you would do with that individual. Is it just to see where they're at? Where's
Exactly.
the meeting?
Yeah. Where's the need and how to shape your session and plan your session. It's the whole thing is kind of just as a tool for analysis that'll give you a bit more information to help with your session planning.
Yeah, so it's all about looking at the right things at the start anyway, and then grading them appropriately.
That's it. Yeah. So we're working off the player pathway. It's kind of tying everything in together and just giving it a bit more information. Perfect.
Yeah.
Okay, Frankie, do you want to come in? Or are you happy enough to move on?
Yeah, you can move on there, James.
Yeah,
No problem.
I think we'll move on. Yeah, it's just
Yeah.
5 minutes left. We'll keep moving. Okay. So guys,
You're
that's
okay.
what we have now. Like there's the sample I would have done just to show you what I was on about. Okay. We have 3 age groups: under 6, under 11, and under 15. Okay. So with the under 6, and I would have had catching, agility, coordination, running, striking, and kicking. I think so. That's what I think is important for the under 6s, and I'd ranked a player as such. The 11s then again, all age appropriate stuff. We're looking at evasion, kind of agility again, striking, handling, tackling, support play, and decision making. And similar enough down under 15s, we look at kicking, tackling, kind of included some athletic development stuff like speed and strength, and what's that? Attack and play, I think was the other one down there. So, guys, I suppose the whole idea with this, it was just kind of that's something we can measure and help us make our plans going forward, you know. So it's just there kind of just as a tool that we can use to make sure that our plans are for hitting certain skills in the right volume to help create that overall player. Do you want to move on, Willie?
Just on that too, James.
Yeah.
I think very worthwhile exercise, obviously, but I think it's no harm now and again during the year if coaches did it about themselves. Map out. You might self-evaluate and you might map out the same as what James has done. And sometimes you might think that you're really strong at coaching the tackle, or you're really strong. So if you give yourself a 2 out of 5 at coaching the tackling, then you need to go and ask, okay, maybe a different coach in the club, maybe James, maybe somebody from the county board. Okay, how do we are looking up drills and stuff that, you know, we can all, it's like something in school, it's like our subjects in school. We can all be really good at coming up with games for striking and evasion and fun games. But sometimes maybe how do I get decision making in it? How do I get support play into it? And just as a coach, it's really good sometimes to self-evaluate and say, okay, from a coach's point of view, is there anything I need to improve on, or parts of the game that I need to improve on? So I just think it's a fantastic tool to use.
Thanks, Willie. We'll just run through this.
James,
sorry. Yeah,
sorry,
okay,
James,
Seamus.
just on there, just again on the when the lads do fill out the forms and say they're with under 11s there or under 13s. Like I'll just give a story there when I was with the development squad under 15s. I done a player evaluation as well, and I got the players to fill out basically what they asked them to put in what they thought they were good at, and then asked them to, you know, what do you think you need to improve on, and they wrote a little piece about themselves. Now I got to keep them, and I happened to work with one of the lads 5 years later, and I was able to show him that sheet, like, and it was great to see that he actually had worked on the things he was weaker on, and it's great to look back on it, you know, especially in the club there. If the lad there now was with under 11s and he has them wrote down there, you know, it's great to see in years to come to be able to pull out to see how they developed, and it's nice to have there as a record as well. And players appreciate it as well. You know, the kind of just he's really thinking of me. He's looking for me to develop here. So definitely keep it as well as a tool for later on in years to come. Like,
yeah, thanks, Seamus. It kind of leads us on fairly well to the last one. This one is kind of probably more pitched at, say, your under 15s, your under 17s, or even your adult teams. It's one that I would have used before on and seen being used in Rathgarogue a couple of times, especially with that age group, kind of the old under 16 and minor teams. It purely puts the player development back onto the player, and it outlines them to kind of, like we talked about earlier, goal setting. Okay, what do you want to achieve this year? It's a simple thing, and just by writing that down, they become a small percentage of people with goals for that year. It might seem a simple thing, and you ask yourself what does it achieve, but when you put pen to paper and it's there in black and white in front of you, it's a huge commitment, and it's a serious focus for everyone, you know. And we just follow that up with a couple of other questions then. Okay, so what are your goals for the year? The next one is 3 things I need to be able to do to achieve the above goals. All right, so what you need to be. And then the last thing is then 3 daily tasks that you're going to do to help you achieve your goals. You know, and it's so simple, but it can be so powerful, and it's you can even apply that to a player or coach, your own life. You know what I mean? It's just a simple sheet that derives and focus and goals for everyone, you know. I think that nearly brings us to our end, lads. Okay, if you want to move on there, Willie.
Yeah.
We're just there on 8:30 anyway. It's good timing. But lads, again, as I said, we looked at the season plans early on, and genuine there, my number and email is at the bottom there again. If you want me to have a look over any session plans, season plans, or player development plans, or any questions you don't want to ask in the next 10 minutes, feel free to contact me on the phone or email there. But again, I suppose I'll open the floor now, lads. If you want to type a question, type it in. If you want to write, or if you want to open up your mic, type in your name and we'll come to you. I suppose, lads, we want to try and make use of Willie Cleary and Seamus Byrne. We have them here because we mightn't have them ever again. So they're a wealth of information. And so if we answer any of your questions, we'd be much obliged. Okay, so we'll give it a few minutes there. So anyway, I want to start the ball rolling. Any questions, feel free. Have you anything to add there, Seamus or Willie, now before we summarise, or are we waiting on questions?
Go ahead there, Seamus. Sorry, my mic was off for a second.
Yeah, it's just as I say, when I first started off coaching there, I wouldn't have had anybody coming on like yourself, James, talking to me about planning, you know. As I say, there was no great plan that turned up, and basically worked off my experiences. But as years go on, and the more I put down plans and go back and look at them, as I say to you, if the plan isn't working, it can always change. It's not set in stone or anything. Your plan can change, and you know, there's nothing wrong. Put your hands up and go and say, yeah, okay, we're going to change that and go in a different direction. But definitely to have something to start out with that you can look at and see, it keeps you on the road. Definitely, I would definitely. It's been a great tool. I use a plan all now. As I say, I do change them as well. But as I said, years are going by, the more plans you come up with, the better.
Very good, Jamie.
Yeah. Have we a question, James, or will I go on?
No, go ahead there, Willie. Yeah.
Yeah. I suppose from my point of view, I come from a teaching background as well. And I suppose we follow a curriculum, and most of you probably online will have kids or have some involvement with kids anyway, because you're coaching up and the child into junior infants. You expect that the school has a plan for the year. You know, my child is going to learn a first few letters over the first few months and then go on to the next few letters. And after junior infants and senior infants, they might go on to words and reading books and so on up to 6th class till they're reading novels and their sums and stuff like that. But if we don't, like, if we can transfer, James, but if we can transfer that into GEA, and I know you might look at this and say it's a bit daunting for the year ahead, but if the club can come together and sit down and plan a season plan for under 7s, 9s, 11s, 13s, 15s, and 17s, then it's there in storage for everyone. So if you're the under 11 manager this year and you go up to the under 13s in the next year or two, that under 13 season plan is there. So the Gusserane season plan is there for forever to come. And all you have to do is follow it and tweak it, maybe from the different coach. So I just think if you read, and I stressed it last week in the webinar, and something maybe it goes over our head as coaches, that we only get one chance with each player. So if a child comes up to you at 6 into your club and goes through the nursery, that any bad experience they might feel, whether that's at 9 or 12 or 15, will stay with them, and it might lead them leaving the club or maybe not coming back. And we can all see that the dwindling numbers at minor some stages. So if you can make their experience as enjoyable, as progressive as you can over the years by planning, by following a club structure and a club pathway through season, session and player development plans, it'll only keep players, it'll only make yourself a better coach, and ultimately it'll only make the club a more enjoyable and successful place to be around. So while there seems a bit of work in it, if everyone comes together, there's actually not, and it's kind of there then forever with you. So I just couldn't recommend it. You know, I couldn't recommend, even as I said, from a teaching background, it's crucial. I couldn't walk into 4 class and just make up what I'm doing. I'd have to have the yearly plan ahead that the children are in better place heading into 5th class, and that's all you're trying to do. And a 9-year-old who comes into it just has to be a better player by the time they turn 10. And basically, I think by planning, you get the best out of the child. So I just think James has done great work in putting this together. And if all clubs can follow it, we'd be in a fantastic place as a county in Wexford.
Okay, here's Ed. Ed has a question here now. Yeah. I suppose he's put it to the floor as well as us here. Has any coach taken a session on Facebook Live or Zoom? If yes, how did it go? And is it something we could or should be trying to do? Do you
want to answer that, James?
Yeah, like we're kind of on a company line at the minute because a couple of clubs in Dublin have rolled us out, and unfortunately they had a nursery session running on a Saturday morning. And it was taken over, hacked, and inappropriate material was shown during the session. So unfortunately, from a games development point of view, and it's recommended that we don't use both of those means. The means we are using at the minute is this team session. And Tad,
we will have James too on there's a wellness fortnight coming up, and on the first Friday of the wellness week, Anthony Masterson is running a kind of football fitness session for kids, and on the Saturday they'll be running a nursery session. So Edwin, if you wanted to tune into them, you could see how it was worked from. That'll be coming live from the Wexford GA Facebook account, so you can kind of see how it'll be done. But James is right. At the minute, there's a Crow Park ban on it due to what happened in Ballycombe.
Another question here from Francis. After evaluating where a big gap exists between stronger kids and weaker kids, any tips on how to manage and coach this group? Willie, I'll give you this one again. You answered this fairly well the last day in the webinar last week, so maybe you'd want to reiterate there to Fob. Yeah.
Okay, I think that's probably Fob. I think that's probably one of the biggest challenges to us as coaches is how do we cater for the. You might have 5 fantastic players or really, really high level that are probably good enough to play with the older age group, and you might have 5 or 6 kids that it's a bit of a struggle for them at the minute. think the one thing I suppose you'll remember first of all is check their ages. So you could have a boy who's playing under 11, who's 11 in January, and he could be playing with a boy who is still 9 and won't be 10 till December. There could be 23 months in the difference, so that's something to check. But I suppose the biggest answer I would say is station coaching, Bob, that you would split them into groups of their ability or fair enough to their ability, and have each group working to their potential in a station. So that you might have, you say you have 20 players, you might have 7 in one station, 7 in another station, 7 in another roughly, and that you move them on so that the kids are being challenged at their own level. Obviously, you wouldn't be really obvious with it by calling out the best players the whole time, and you wouldn't do it every single session, but that you challenge them in that way. And then maybe you put during matches or you put targets, and I'd really stress that you don't put, like, what would you call it, strains on them, that you can only you can only score a point, but everyone else can score goals. That's making a hero out of the good player. What you need to say to the good player is, I want you to really focus on maybe your left foot when you're scoring today. Just really try and focus on that quietly. And there's different targets you can put on different players quietly. You can pull them aside and stuff like that. And I suppose the biggest thing we'd stress is praising the effort, not the talent. So if you tell somebody that he's the best player, he's great, he'll believe that the whole way along. When if every player is giving you effort at their own ability, then that goes a long way for each player improving at their own rate. I hope that's helped out a little bit, James. I don't know if you can add to it, or Seamus.
No, spot on. He said kind of couple them and mixing up as well, like, and varying the groups, and challenging where we can, when we can. Very good.
Yeah.
Another one here now from Dermot Ryan. They're flying in now. Given the shortened season this year, should we not focus on all the skills and coach fewer skills to a higher level? Well, I suppose I'll have to take a stab at this first, and I'll let Seamus hop in then maybe. So it kind of comes down a lot, Dermot, to the handover, either between next year as well. Like, you know what I mean? Kind of like this year's the same for everyone. It's 1 year in a player's development over 10 years. You know what I mean? Kind of, and as we approach as such. So either approach works for me, as long as handing over to the coaches next year where you got to and where they need work. I hope that makes sense. Seamus, do you want to hop in there?
Yeah, with the way it is and not knowing when the season's going to kick back off, I just know this right from adult right down to nursery. If you were a player, the last thing you want to get in there and just have fun, and I mean that as an adult as well. So to me, that's going straight into playing games again themselves. You imagine your first day back in a training session, and it'd be with kids or adults, and you're asking them to stand behind cones to wait for a turn. Like, you're so mad to get out there and play at the minute. You want to. So I would suggest for this year, because it's probably going to be a short season, that it's as fun as possible. And that means you can still get your skills in there, and you're probably right there. Rather than concentrating on trying to get the skills higher, get every skill in. But as long as the child is going away happy, because we're not. If the season does start, it's not going to be very long. So we definitely need to hit the fun element. Really, is probably the most important one of it.
Yeah, and can I jump in on that, James? And it kind of caters for the next. The Dermot asked the question, and then it says unknown user and external. I don't know who wrote it in.
Lizzie Kent, I think. Yeah, Adamstown. Yeah.
Was it Lizzie? It came in. How would you suggest keeping engagement with kids? I actually would flip that, and I would say this is our best opportunity we've ever had to have engagement with parents and kids, and also develop their skills. Like, I would be setting, if you had WhatsApp groups, I would be setting every week for every age group a hurling and football skills challenge for the kid to be doing at home, and have a weekly competition in your club, so that the parent has to WhatsApp the coach, the kid doing the skills. So you might video yourself doing the skill. You send the video into the WhatsApp group. They have to practice it each week in hurling and football. And then they send you the video back, and you might have a prize, a hurling grip, or a pair of socks, or a pair of nicks, or a pair of gloves. And every week you have a competition between all the kids at each age group. And to me, this is an ideal time to work on our technical side of our game, because the child is off. The child has an hour, 2 hours max of schoolwork in the morning, and they're mad to do things. So I think if the club can really get out, I know Hors would have actually organised it starting next week, where they're running this competition for all their age groups from under 13 down, They're going to have a skills challenge in hurling and football every week. The kids are going to send the videos to their coach, and there'll be a winner every week. And every month, then they're going to have an extra prize. And at the end of the year, then they'll have kind of a skills challenge winner to work on them. Also bring in athletic development. Do you know what I mean? Make it fun, twist and turn and hopping off the left, hopping off the right, everything like that off their feet. But to me, I think this is it's a golden opportunity to be working with parents and kids, because the technology, why not in a month's time set up one of these webinars with all your parents in your age groups, get all the 11 parents onto this link. Now, all of them won't come, but as many as you can, and, discuss, this is our plan for the next few weeks. How are the kids keep and take an interest in the children? I know it's tough. Is there anything that you'd like to see us do from the club point of view? I don't know if you saw on Twitter, the volunteers in Wexford Town delivered an Easter egg and a small football to every child under 11 in their club. And it's just a way of engaging the kids and getting them to work on their skills. So the club can go to sleep now and not work in the next few months on, on kind of, sure, COVID was in, we couldn't do anything. Or you can flip it on its head and make it the best use of time you can. And the kids could come back then with their technical skills in fantastic shape. And then, as Dermot asked, and as Seamus read, just get into games then, because for the last 5 months they're after working on their technical skills. I feel really strongly about that, and I think any club that falls asleep at the wheel now will really regret it, because the work that can be done in the next few weeks could be invaluable.
And then Willie, just to add to that there, it's also an ideal time, as we all know, parents can get into a habit of maybe just dropping the child at the pitch and they're gone. They're at home with the child now, so it's a great opportunity to get parents involved and actually getting them to coach to, the pick up and the skills. And if we were able to give it to them in such a way that, you have a skill chart just to show them that they're now going to be out there with the child. And a lot of parents don't have time because they're working and they don't get a chance to spend time with the child in a coaching kind of a relationship. Whereas now is a golden opportunity, as Willie is saying, for the child to learn the skill, but also for the parent to get involved. It's probably a great time maybe to pick up new coaches.
Yeah, and if any of the clubs, if any of the 3 clubs online here are struggling for ideas, just contact James or contact myself or Seamus, and we can help you out with weekly, or James can help you out with little videos that we could do to challenge the kids for skills, 1 hurling, 1 football every week. And if they got 20 minutes of hurling and football in every day, you'd be in a great place, and to be all sending in, waiting to see who won this week, or did I win the grip, did I win the pair of nicks? And the money you're spending, that you're saving by not being up in the club, I suppose, the small bit of money could be spent on those prizes. Just wondering, if you don't mind, would you give a thumbs up into the group if you think that's a good idea, or do you see issues with it? Just before we go.
Yeah, a few thumbs up coming through there now. Yep.
Yeah, that's great. No, that's great to hear. Yeah. Fantastic.
That's great, lads. Thanks very much for that. I suppose to sum it up, I think Willie hit the nail on the head. So let's going forward, let's focus on what we can do and not what we cannot do, and we'll try to get the ball rolling on more interaction with the kids at home and parents at home. Other than that, lads, thanks for your time today. I hope you got something from that. I said, feel free to give us a shout over the next few days if you have any other questions. Thanks very much, and hopefully see you all again soon. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, lads.